Today we're going to do some wet weather riding, and I'll talk to you a bit about what you got to look out for. Generally you ride the same way you do in the dry, but just to be aware of places where the back wheel's going to slip or the front wheel's going to slip. So you can kind of tell just by looking at the road where the dry parts are and where the wet parts are. So I'm riding right in the middle of the of this lane, and basically I can see from the surface there that it's fairly dry there. You know, I can ride in the wet parts no problem, but I just want to take the best of the road at the moment. So now turning a bike at around city corners and that, basically keep it as upright as possible and a bit of back brake. Don't try and lean her over on city corners, because there tends to be gravel in the right on the middle of the turn. So try and square off your turns, and what I mean by squaring them off, make it a full 90-degree turn. Reason being is that'll keep you away from traffic that's also turning at that intersection. So this one up here I'm going to turn right here, so get my blinker on nice and early. And I've got time now, so square it off, go right out there. That keeps you away from, now that there was gravel there, so not only do you square it off, but keeping it upright. When I ran over the gravel, I was actually upright. So it's an exaggerated turn, and you're always basically riding as if there's something there that's going to make you slip. And when there is, you don't slip. So you've got to be prepared for the fact that we might have to do an emergency brake at any time. So you get it in your head that the first thing that's going to move will be your back foot, I mean your foot, for your back brake. And at the same time you're going to go for the front brake. But you're going to go for a gentle application of that front brake for the first split second, and then you're going to increase it. So just wait for no one there. Alright, so make a right hand turn up here. Now wet weather, anything that's painted, whether it be painted white or painted anything, is going to be slippery. It doesn't mean you can't run over it. You can run over it, but you just don't count on there being a lot of traction there. So back brake a little bit. And there's shiny bits on the road. Stay in the right lane for a sec. Back to the left lane. Yeah, watching the white car, so we'll speed up a little bit so it sinks in with the green car on the opposite side of the road. And that, you don't hang around there and waiting for him to come out. So now cornering techniques, these city corners are the ones where if you throttle on too much you're going to drop it. But you'll get a bit of warning, the back wheel will give you a bit of warning. So down here, let's take it easy, throttle control there. Yeah, so now I didn't just throttle on all of a sudden there. If I did, there's a chance the back wheel will spin out and I'll drop it. Especially with a powerful bike, too easy to happen. So really minute control of the throttle and holding it consistent with a bit of back brake. And the back brake actually makes it consistent. So if it starts to even slip, the back brake will stop it from slipping. Just wait a sec. Alright. Good driver. So even though I've got a little bit of rain coming down, not getting wet, this bike's shielding me knees from that rain, and I've got a good jacket on. So downhill, there'll be a little bit more braking you got to do going downhill. So if this turns red down here, to make sure you don't get in like a puddle or something and try and brake hard in that, use your gears going down. So I haven't even used the brakes yet. Now I'm just using back brake. If you're going down, now a little touch of front brake now just to pull me up on the line. So everything's super gentle. Now if I take off and I give it a few revs, alright, well that will tell you how much traction you've got in the rain in a straight line. But you know, when you're sort of cranked over, you wouldn't be putting in a lot of power there because it would spin out, but it didn't spin there at all on bitumen. That's really a testament to what the tyres are like, the good tyres. If I had to start to spin, it'd just feel a bit jumpy, and I'd just back off the throttle a bit. Now waiting to see whether this car will pull out in front of me, so I'll go down to the third gear, bit of back brake, getting ready for it to go on the opposite side of the road. Not needed. Now you think, alright, that was on a hill, what? And I say go on to the opposite side of the road. You're thinking, well, why would I do that? Because if a car came over the top of the hill, wouldn't I get cleaned up by it? Well, no, because what you do, because it's an emergency situation, you don't have the compulsion to go forward. So there's a thing that I call the compulsion to go forward. That's where people think they have to continue on. So what they miss out on is that you can come to a complete stop somewhere and then reassess the situation, get back to where you should be. So what would happen there is if I had to go on the opposite side of the road, I'd keep going right over basically to where the bike lane is, or where the if there's a footpath over that way, and get off the road and let oncoming traffic come down there, and then when it's possible do a little mini U-turn there and get back on the other side of the road, or whatever, stay on the same side of the road and do a blocky, go around and come out the other side. So right, this intersection I've been followed, blinker on nice and early, and I'm doing a right hand turn, getting as close as I can to the centre. Watching behind me, not a lot of room there. I don't like those ones, you know, I did the right thing, I got across as far as I could, but those cars came very close to me. If that's about as close as I sort of get to the cars. So alright, doing about 60 k's here. Bit of back brake to settle it down, and then you got the right line. Because it's only 60 k's, I'm not leaning over much. Not needed to have a lot of throttle. So just the super smoothness that you do in the rain is the type of riding you should be doing all the time. You can basically do any speed that you need to do in the dry, in the wet, if you just ride properly. So watching the white car up here, back brake on, getting ready. watching his wheel, and that's fine. So you'll start to observe the road surface. Like here, it's very rough road surface, which is good for the rain. Basically, it's almost the same as the dry, the bit that I was in there. And it changes. Right now, it goes back to slippery. Can you see all that slippery road? Yeah, so that's like ice sometimes. So you go through it like it is ice, keep the bike upright, and not a lot of throttle, and don't do anything sudden on that. Now I am exaggerating, alright? I'm exaggerating because there's no other way to say it. If I said be a bit careful, then somebody might think, well, that's hardly careful at all, I might as well do the same pace. So I kind of exaggerate the points that need to be talked about. And yeah, so we'll go right up here, and I might head out of town, head towards Kangaroo Flat, right blinker on, looking behind. Now it's slippery here on the white there. Watching for cars that be hidden behind there. No. Accelerate slowly. Once you're actually straight, you know, the bike's pretty normal for accelerating. So that's why around city corners I just really take it easy. It's just not worth, you know, even in the dry, it's not worth giving it too much, because you only got to hit a bit of gravel, and the gravel sits in the intersections. It's little tiny bits of gravel sit right in the intersection, and that's where it'll slip a little bit. And what happens is when people slip, sometimes they accidentally throttle on a bit and give it a handful, and then the whole thing goes down. So I'm going to sit in the left lane here, and like because it's raining, we have to remember that people are not as skilled in the rain as what they are in the dry. Most people don't ride in the rain or drive in the rain unless they have to. And I'm only doing it today because I want to do a video under these conditions. So now, if my visibility didn't get too good through that screen, I'm just going to put the screen down. But obviously some bikes can't do that. This one can. So you're watching, you know, at the intersection, and watching for people who come in too hard and they have to stop, and they might slip behind you. So I'm always watching what other drivers are doing. Nice and slow through here. Getting ready for the car ahead that might be looking for a car park. So I need to give them a decent amount of room. Back into second gear. There's a car backing out here. Just make sure that, yeah, okay. So this one's giving away to it, allowing it to come out. That's very courteous. Another one coming out next to it. And watching this car doesn't pull in front of me. So going through there, some people will, you know, speed up going through there. That's wrong. I stayed in second. Watch your speed when you overtake a car. If you're going to overtake it on the left here, just watch that it's not much of an overtaking speed, because if they change lanes, you'll be able to brake easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase my speed a little bit. Change your gear here. Everyone's been super careful. Alright. if you're learning how to ride in the rain, these days aren't too bad. Like thing you got to remember, if you're in your 20s and you've never ridden a bike before, you're going to be wanting to push the envelope sometimes. And I mean, the best way to avoid that is to do a lot of riding, because you tend to push the envelope more when you don't do much riding. Like, let's say you only come out on the weekends or something,